Okay, I think we're on. All right. This is Adam Carroll with Justice for All's program, Burma Task Force. We've been working since 2012 to raise awareness of the persecution and then the genocide of the Rohingya people in Rakhine State, Burma, and the plight of other ethnic minorities also suffering in Burma. The Burmese military, the same military that uh, conducted the coup this past week, February 1st, is the same exact military that perpetrated genocide against the Rohingya Muslim minority. This is a pattern that has been going on for decades. And somehow the international community has either been fooled or complicit for decades into standing by or offering the response has either been fooled. So now we reach a moment of decision, an opportunity for action. And today we'll be discussing with experts what can be done, how we can partner with the impacted communities, the Rohingya brothers and sisters, the Kachin, the Karen, the Shan, the Mon, all the groups that have been targeted by the brutal Burmese military. I think we have a film to show, and then I'm going to introduce our chairman. If we have the film, it will be a 1-minute film to bring us up to speed and give us some images of the Burmese people responding to this coup. Hopefully. And Sister Hannah, if not,
Um, I believe, yes, we have it right here. I could just.
great. This is a BBC report from today. Now, to come back to discussing this, we should say that despite the lack of internet, uh, we are getting some footage in some reports. But this BBC coverage gives us a picture of some of the problems we get with coverage of this issue. We see that the focus is overwhelmingly on Aung San Suu Kyi. And the brave young people who are taking some risk, given how brutal the military has been to protesters. But the tendency to focus on the drama of icon and politician Aung San Suu Kyi sometimes complicates our work. We want to support democracy and oppose the military coup, but we must acknowledge that Aung San Suu Kyi, during her time in office, has failed to support and protect the minorities in her country and has been complicit with the military. And so this complication, which is not insurmountable, we should be able to link democracy and pluralism. After all, they depend on each other to function. But in Western coverage and coverage around the world for that matter, there are distortions and we need to address them. Why? Because the Burmese people deserve better. The Rohingya deserve better. So I will leave it there for the moment. We have some speakers today, but to begin, a welcome from our chairman, Imam Malik Mujahid. You're up.
Well, peace be with you. Thank you so much for all of you who have joined us. Inshallah, more people will be joining. I think this is a very significant challenge as well as opportunity. China is going unchecked. Here is the client state of China, whether it's the Burmese military or the Aung San Suu Kyi. Both had good relationship with China. China is their main supplier. China is the one who vetoed Security Council's resolution on the current situation. It is good that so many people are standing up. It is important to show our solidarity with democracy, not necessarily Suu Kyi, who went and shamelessly defended the genocide committed by the military, same military which has disposed her. I was there in ICJ in Hague, Netherlands, and I saw her defending this genocide. So she has a lot of blame. When people try to reason with her, she went around saying, I'm a politician, not a human rights activist. And you see what happens to politicians who are imprincipled. The world response is muted. But let's first understand that this military is not just a military, it's a mafia of the country. The last time we had a program yesterday or day before, someone informed us that the only phone line which is working in the country is the phone company which is owned by the brother of the commander-in-chief who has taken over the country. Rest of the phone companies are unable to function. So they are always, there was a time when I tried to do business in Burma, and I was able to speak to Chamber of Commerce and was talking to a whole lot of people. Our motive was to help support civil society there, so create a soft corner for Rohingya people. We offered to them that in the city of Yangon, where situation was terrible, I mean, even the government hospital where I was not allowed to visit, the reason being it was pretty pathetic shape. There were not even bed available for people, and that was the main hospital. We offered on behalf of American Muslim community 100 ambulances free on one condition, that there is a 6-inch high writing saying it's a gift of American Muslim for Burmese people to create a soft corner for Rohingya. But because of that mafia, that a gesture of love were refused. Same thing, you know, whenever I will try to talk to a business person, it will be a good conversation. Then the second meeting will be with the person who is a military person. So behind every business is a military person. That's how they have been controlling the country. And then they wrote the constitution. According to that constitution, they could do whatever they are doing right now. So this is the same military which is responsible for committing genocide of Rohingya. 51 million of all Rohingya refugees told this to United Nations and the US State Department in separate interviews that they saw somebody being raped. Just imagine the trauma whole people have going through. And they have committed war crimes and crimes against humanity against the Kachin Christian brothers and sisters, Karen and other Buddhist brothers and sisters. You see, there is a whole lot of misery this military has put on the 53 million people in Burma. So we are solidly in solidarity with the Burmese people. Our government response in the United States, unfortunately, has not been extraordinary. They just say that, oh, it's bad for democracy and democracy this, democracy that. Well, our government should not have forced Burmese government to accept a constitution which allows military to do these things, number one. Number two, how come President Biden and Secretary of State forget the fact that this is the military, same general who committed genocide and crimes against humanity. Not a single word about that. Government essentially has forgotten about it. And I'd like to share with you that last time, it was just almost a year ago, when I met the national security advisor to President Trump in White House. She told me point blank, Malik, it's an old story. I understand it's an old story, but a genocide which is ongoing and Rohingya people living in misery to the level they rather go back, risk their life in Burma right now in the current situation in Bangladeshi camps, security-wise, and a lot of problem there. So now that this issue has come, that the same military which committed genocide and continues to commit crimes against humanity has taken power. And you know, what do they say? There are 3-point agenda. I have read from their own declaration. There is a 3-point agenda they have. Point number one, take care of ethnic conflict. Second point that is, deal with the COVID pandemic. Third point, to have elections. You see their priority? First priority is what essentially is a threat to all people in Burma, that they will be bombing from air, from the ground, shooting, killing, creating more internally displaced people, creating more refugees. This is what they are saying in the first line. Who's going to support them? Chinese, who are doing their own genocide against Muslim people, and Indians, who there are 2 genocide alert in Kashmir and Assam. But I'd like you to also understand that while we all have mobilized since 2012 for Rohingya people, out of 3 million Rohingyas, only 500,000 are left in Burma now. They are going to be, again, at a dire risk. But then there are 25 million people who are not racially Burman. Kachin and Karen and Rakhine and other people, Christians, Buddhists, and a lot of Muslims also. You know, Rohingya Muslims are the one indigenous people of Burma. but there are 2.5 million other Muslims. Some say 3 million, some say 4 million. Until 50 years ago, Burmese government used to think there are 10% of all people in Burma are Muslims. Now they say only 4.5% are Muslim. Even if you accept that, you're talking about 2, 3 million people. And there have been massacres, there have been crimes against humanity against them, including people who are racially Burmese who became Muslim. There have been massacres and displacement. A very good Burmese priest, monk, who I had the honor of meeting, and we awarded him in the Nobel Prize Institute in Oslo, Norway. He saved life of 2,000 Muslim in that city, and they were Burman Muslim essentially. They were not Rohingya, far away from any Rakhine area. So all people in Burma are going to suffer. They are the one who killed, massacre Burmese monks also. It is very unfortunate that they have been successful in propaganda that monk and by and large other ethnic groups in Burma, they don't think right of Rohingya Muslim, and they have Islamophobic opinion about Islam and Muslim. Hopefully with our prayers and with our solidarity with all Burmese people, we'll be able to overcome. But time is ripe right now, brothers and sisters. The world response is weak at this particular moment, but we can force them right now. The only way we can force them, we go in full gear. You know, we have been working on Burma Task Force, which is a coalition of 38 Canadian and US organization since 2012. I have never worked in my life on a cause for that long. This may be our last opportunity to ensure that this to declaration that Burmese military committed a genocide. This can be done, but the only way it can be done that we put tremendous pressure. This government in America has declared democracy is going to be their pillar and human rights are going to be pillar. We have been talking with them before President Biden became the president, and we have submitted to them what we want them to do. But now is the time to put full throttle pressure. So there are many action items. Inshallah, Sister Hina is going to deal with this, or Brother Adam, but I really request you to volunteer at this time. I do not have enough staff. I do not have enough people listening to us. We need volunteers who are willing to take care of the city and mosque after mosque, sitting at their home and being able to project power to Washington, D.C. to make sure their words about democracy and human rights are true, not for Suchi only, but for the whole people of Burma by declaring it a genocide and putting sanctions, all those sanctions would force the military to begin with to compromise with the civilians. I will come back if Brother Adam is all right at the later part of this as well, but I will stop here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Imam Malik. Yes, and today because unfortunately YY is not able to join us after all, we are going to start with Jan Moran. We're very glad to have a stellar activist from the Kachin American community who is very much in touch with the Burmese movement, the youth movement in the home country. And I'd like to invite her to speak maybe first about the pattern we have displacement and the IDP issue. And then we'll get to hopefully considering ways in which we can coordinate our efforts to support the Burmese people and the minority communities, you know, how we can take action ourselves. But maybe first, Jan, if you could give us a picture of the Kachin people and what the IDP situation means.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Assalamu alaikum. Hello. I'm Janjan, and I'm very honored to be on this panel. I first of all like to also just do a little bang acknowledgement that I'm on Powhatan land in the United States, in Northern Virginia. And yeah, to speak on the IDP issue, I just like to raise awareness that while these movements are going on in Burma and things are going crazy, there's also like this aspect where IDPs are feeling like they can't really join in on the internet movements while there was internet. And they're just not able to voice their opinions as much as people in the cities are. And that was an issue. But I'm very happy to say that, you know, with the advocacy work that I've been able to do, we have created a platform on Facebook where like people can, you know, post their opinions anonymously, and they can do that hopefully when the internet gets back, if it ever does. But we were able to get that together. And I'm just so grateful for all the opportunities I've been able to get, because if it weren't for these opportunities to connect with all the youth in Burma and abroad, I never would be able to, you know, get all this going. And yeah, just with the IDPs,
Oh, we should
we
probably
hope
say,
that
what does IDP stand for? I forgot to say that.
right, I'm so sorry, I jumped in the gun here. IDP stands for internally displaced persons, and these are basically people who are categorized with this label because they are not refugees, they have not been able to cross borders, therefore they are not considered refugees. However, they are displaced in the same manner as refugees because they have fled their villages and they're still within the boundaries of the country.
Yeah, yeah.
And so to continue talking about IDPs, and then also who Kachin people are in the northern part of the country. And they are a group of people who were actually very migratory. We have a lot of really interesting aspects in our culture where everyone just has a way of connecting with one another, addressing each other as, you know, like with certain names. There are many different kind of clans also. There's a clan relationship that goes on within our communities. And everyone's very close knit. It's like you can't go hiding. Like everyone knows who's who. It's easy to pinpoint who you are just by knowing who your clan is, like which clan you come from, who your parents are, and all that stuff. So it's very, very brotherly, very sisterly, and it's a beautiful culture. There's a lot of jade also where the people reside, and unfortunately, this is the reason why a lot of you know, exploitation is occurring, especially by China and by the Burmese military / government that cooperated with China to be mining these jades. So it just causes a lot of, you know, just terrible conditions for people who end up working in the mines also. And it's basically a big factor in the, how would you say it, in the like oppression of Kachin people. Like, you know, Burma as a whole is also just really rich in resources, but Kachin land particularly suffers a lot from from human rights abuses, and it's just unacceptable. And the main reason is because of the jade and the rich land that they have. And just to go into the avenue about like what youth people are doing, like advocacy wise, right now, a lot of things are happening. I'm just really grateful to be also a part of this movement. I never ever think I first saw myself being in something as this big, but what's happening right now in Burma with the military coup and what's been happening for decades is just prompting us to come together in a way like never before, you know. And I'm feeling this energy right now, even as I like speak with people. Just in the past few days alone, I've been able to connect with people from Norway, UK, Canada, and just like places like from all over the states. You know, and it's just crazy. Like everyone's coming together right now, and I've been able to help out with organizing a global movement, sort of getting a global network set up on Facebook and like in other places. So we're getting organized, and we are ready to charge. Like we're ready to, you know, get this out there. And there's a particular movement right now going on, and it's gonna be showing up on your feeds hopefully soon tomorrow, because we do have a plan to be uploading videos of ourselves banging our pots and pans. In Burmese culture, banging pots and pans is symbolic for driving away the evil spirits, casting away evil, you know, just vibes. And so this is what we are going to be doing. 8:30 Eastern Standard Time in the morning, every single day starting tomorrow. People will be posting videos of them banging their pots and pans in place of people who can't do that back home in Burma. A lot of videos were circulating online. This was it's a part of the civil disobedience campaign or slash movement. Yeah, there's a civil disobedience movement going on right now in Burma, where people are sitting out on their jobs. It was a movement that was actually started by doctors, and they did this in order to peacefully protest against the military coup. And I think it's intelligent, it's really smart, and it's really like it's really having the capacity to get everyone together on board, and just participate in little ways, such as just posting a video to social media. So I invite everyone who's watching this to also post on their social media tomorrow. Due to the internet, shutdown in Burma, people can't be posting their videos anymore, but I'm sure that they will still be doing this every night at 8 p.m. over there in Burma, which is 8:30 a.m. our time here in Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, that's what's going to be going down. And I hope that, with hashtags that we're using, like Save Myanmar, what are the other ones I have? I have them on the list right here. Save Myanmar, hashtag Iron Bucket Campaign, hashtag Civil Disobedience Movement, hashtag Civil Disobedience, or even hashtag Pray for Myanmar. Just use whatever hashtags you like of your choice and just upload them 8:30 a.m. tomorrow every day.
Thank you, John. And we'll certainly loop you back into the conversation. I should have said earlier that we will have Shui Meng a little bit later speaking, a former MP in the Parliament of Burma, who is actually Rohingya and the last Rohingya to be allowed in Parliament. And we also have Hannah Zuberi, who heads our DC office and is very involved in promoting legislation, including a genocide determination and meetings with State Department, as is our chairman who spoke earlier. These measures that John just mentioned, they give hope. They give hope. It's important to show solidarity to people struggling, even if it's a hashtag, even if it's banging on your pots and pans wherever you are. This is a time for solidarity on a global scale, given that the mass displacement both of internally displaced people and refugees all around the world, they deserve support. The genocide determination has been something under consideration for a number of years. And during the Trump administration, the Secretary of State asked a legal organization to do research. Their recommendation was that this, what happened to the Rohingya was a genocide, but then the State Department failed to use that information and to act on that information. And it was so disappointing and shocking that the legal organization took the risk and a number of months later did their own press conference, reminding the world that their findings found that a genocide had taken place. And so there are many studies, not only from the human rights community, not only from this group I've just mentioned, but also UN investigators that all use the word genocide or genocidal or hallmarks of genocide. So the time is right to make this determination. In fact, it's late, but let's not leave it. It's not enough to call what happened to the Rohingya an ethnic cleansing, because this term does not have legal standing in court. And the charges of genocide have actually been brought in the International Court of Justice. And there's also a case in the International Criminal Court. These are real pressures, even on the military, the Burmese military. which pretends it doesn't care. Uh, the Burmese military, in fact, has been extremely unaccountable. They've made sure of that. They, after decades of ruling Burma as a dictatorship, they entered into a power sharing relationship with the NLD party in 2016, following the election in late 2015. And but the constitution that they had drawn up restricted the rights and powers of Aung San Suu Kyi's party, ensured that key ministries were controlled by the military, ensured that the parliament was in part dominated by military party stalwarts. And so it's been a very difficult, partial democracy. Now that's all thrown up in the air, and we don't know what's next, except that it's a dangerous time for minorities. Given how extreme this military is, not only in its violence, but also its greed, its corruption. It operates a vast network of almost cartel-like, or as Imam Malik was saying, mafia-like industries, and have gotten their hands into all kinds of things. The gemstone trade, as some of you know well, is controlled by the Burmese military, and it's a huge part of the economy. None of it is taxed. The Burmese military does not get funded from the central government, from the civilian government. It funds itself. So this is why it's unaccountable, and it maintains that. So this is a very problematic power that will take concerted effort by the Burmese people, but also with support from the international community. China will block it as much as they can, but we can't let that stop us. So I wanted to invite next Hannah Zuberi to talk about some of the efforts that are being made in Washington, D.C. And then after that, I will invite Shui Mong, the MP from Burma. Sister Hannah.
Thank you so much, Brother Adam, for that introduction and having me on. I'm sharing with all of you a link to please sign up for advocacy for the Rohingya people, the Kachin Karen people, and all the minorities that are being affected. This focus, as Brother Adam has said earlier, on just the democracy movement is hurting many aspects of this work: religious freedom work, ethnic minority work, human rights work. Even just if you've just seen the foreign minister, the equivalent of the foreign minister was just in a Senate hearing earlier, and he made fun of all sorts of human rights emphasis. And he's basically saying that because the West put so much emphasis on human rights, that is why Aung San Suu Kyi went down, and that is why this mess was created, and now he has to rehandle it. And so we need to put the emphasis back on human rights, back on religious freedom, back on the fact that the genocide declaration has not taken place yet. Yes, there's a review committee. And then back on the fact that there needs to be sanctions put on this military regime as soon as possible. And so for this, we will be facilitating meetings with all, wherever you're based, with your congressperson, with your senators. So if you could sign up for those with using that link, that would be something that we would really appreciate, and that would help facilitate the work, because if constituents attend the meetings, then you're more likely to have an effect, and especially those who are directly impacted or have been doing work on this for a long time. We've also shared a petition to President Biden that please sign that. That is going to, our ask is for him to issue an executive order and make sure that the sanctions are placed, except for food and medicine, especially targeted sanctions. A lot of people, especially today, we talk to some of the left-leaning anti-war Congress people, and there's some misunderstanding, which I think we need to really, really educate our elected officials on what targeted sanctions or what sanctions against Burma means. This is a military, as you've heard before, that is that runs businesses in the country. They can fund themselves. It's the only military, I believe, in the world who funds itself. It doesn't need anything from the government because it owns so much business. And so this is very important for people to understand that these sanctions are not, we think that, we think about the Iraq sanctions and other sanctions that have been put across the world, and they think that this is similar. This will have the similar effect. And yes, we've heard this, John and we were discussing this earlier as well, that sometimes because they're everywhere and they own so many businesses, that it may impact people. But as we have another colleague here, Simon Villanez, has always, he's an expert on this, and he's talked about this many, many times, that yes, there are ways to target the military businesses without affecting the people. And this is our call across our compatriots across the pond in the UK are calling for this as well. Sanction the military, don't harm the people. And this is what we're going with. And there are many other things that can be done that need to be explored on holding this military accountable. But first and foremost, we need to get that genocide declaration done. This is the same exact military that conducted, that basically the man who gave the orders for the genocide of the Rohingya people is in charge again. This is something that we need to keep reiterating. We're asking the Muslim community to have one voice on this. This is the ask of the Rohingya people. You will hear from Shuang Mong, who will reiterate this. We need this genocide declaration. And there is not going to be another chance like this. This is what more can happen. They're back in power, they're back in control. And so I urge you all, we've put down some action alerts, calls to the State Department, calls to your Congress people, emails to your Congress people. If you could, do it every day, not just one day, one time you did it one time. They need to hear from us every day. So thank you all for that. And if there are any other questions, I'll drop my email on the chat, and you guys can get in touch if there's any other questions for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Hannah. And it's good to see the responses on the chat, including from Nancy Hoffman, who heads a local Amnesty International group that's been operating for many, many years. Thank you, Nancy. We all need to find something we can do to help in this crisis situation. We'll also drop into the chat some information about specific businesses. There are people who study this subject, and they can tell you which specific businesses are dominated by the Burmese military. The USA does not invest a lot in Burma directly, but there are some international organizations and businesses that you've heard of that do. And certainly boycotts and divestments and sanctions are relevant in many situations. Now, knowing the government from the inside, our next speaker, former MP Shui Mong, can address this crisis and perhaps offer us some suggestions of how we can be supportive at this time. So welcome, Shui Mong.
Thank you, Adam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening. Mingalaba Tali Zwaba. Today, I would like to talk about this recent military coup in our motherland, Myanmar. First of all, I would like to express our deep concerns to our fellow the people of Myanmar in this critical moment. And I would like to show our very solid solidarity with the people of Myanmar. As we all are, I hope all 53 million people are under oppression of military junta. So let me talk about a little bit with the coup, which happened 1st February of this year. Actually, this coup was initiated by the acting president U Min Sui, who was elected by the military MPs in the parliament. He released an executive order in the capacity of acting president. Based on executive order of acting president, the commander-in-chief of the military became in power for all executive, legislative, and judicial, every power in the country. So let me talk about some legitimacy. I have digested 2008 Constitution since I was a member of parliament in Myanmar. So I did not find anything, any section, so how the Vice President Wan U Min Sui became acting president, unless the current president officially resigned or handed over power to the Vice President Wan. So that is missing. So since it is missing, so I must say the executive order of acting president and the title acting president itself is illegal. So after that, there was a meeting of the National Defense and Security Council and the formation of State Administrative Council and appointments of union ministers, the deputy union ministers, and several members of union level institutions. So all become illegal because so everything was wrong at the beginning. So when we look at the State Administration Council, so I saw 2 members. I think they are very high level administration member. So it looks very frustrated and dangerous for me, not only for Rohingya people, but also other ethnic people like Karen, Mon, Kachin, Rakhine, and etc. They are, number one, U Tenyo, who is former MP and chairman of New Democracy Party, who is a member of ultra-nationalist group and absolute supporter of the military. And he's the one who submitted a proposal on November 14, 2014, to condemn Secretary General Ban Ki-moon comments or the term of Rohingya, and also to make a union parliament resolution so that there was in Rohingya. On the same day, I was having a meeting with the President Barack Obama at US Embassy Rangoon as a representative of Rohingya people. So what I want to highlight is that Utinyo is a racist and a member of the Alpha Nationalists. So he is very dangerous for the all ethnic people. Second one is Uke Maungswe. He is the chairman of National Democratic Front. I'm not talking about their personal thing. I'm talking about their reality. They confess themselves. Everybody knows them very well. He is also another person who is ultra nationalist, and he is provided a lot of hate speech against the Rohingya. But what I am thinking now is why these two guys were appointed by the State Administration Council. That came to my mind. And also Dr. Tete Kai, who is very notorious for her comments about the Rohingya people before the 2020 election. Now she was appointed as a Relief and Resettlement Union Minister, which is very important role for the resettlement of all IDPs, including all refugees, Kachin, Karen, and Rohingya. So she is also a racist. So when I saw these three persons in this State Administration Council, now what I realized that it is highlighting the future work or ambition of this military regime, which is alarming, signaling a danger, a threat to my fellow Rohingya people. So they are approximately 600,000 inside. Also, 1 million Rohingya are waiting to be repatriated in Bangladesh refugee camps. So what I want to highlight again is when our Rohingya people are under brutal crackdown by the security forces and some local fighters in 2012. So we have been outcrying. I have been outcrying. I did not find anyone who believed me, my words advocacy, which is actually true. And also the security forces of the Myanmar military, they conducted genocide against Rohingya under the name of clearance operation in 2016 and 2017. As a result, 1 million of Rohingyas were forced to flee to the neighboring Bangladesh, and hundreds of houses of Rohingyas were burned. Hundreds of Rohingya women were raped, and thousands of Rohingya were brutally killed. So that is globally known. But at that time, we have been advocating since our government itself and the military chief, they don't accept. At that time, it's very difficult for us to explain to the Myanmar people. Most of the Myanmar people also, it looks they don't believe that. Instead, we receive a lot of blame while I were in parliament, while I were outside Myanmar. So I'm not talking about that, you see the old story, but I want to highlight, I want to take the opportunity of the critical situation in Myanmar, that we can have very solid solidarity. As I said earlier, so we Rohingyas are very peace-loving people. We are truth tellers. The issue what we raise at the international community, United Nations, Human Rights Council, at the US State Department, US Congress, and at the White House. So everything was correct. But unfortunately, we did not receive the support from the Myanmar people, because I understand also they were brainwashed by the successive military regime. So this is why also the NLD government, it was not so favorable to the Rohingya issues. This is why Dawn San Suu Kyi herself was accused as she was taking the side of Myanmar military. But we Rohingya advocates, nationally, internationally, talking about that what we receive, what Myanmar military did against Rohingya. It's very important. But now we can see, we can look at all 53 million people are suffering, same as Rohingya now. So this is why I want to call in this moment, it's a solid, very solid solidarity. We stand with all Myanmar people who are now under the oppression of Myanmar military junta. So it's very good time to be united. I believe that we alone cannot end this military junta or this military coup. Even the local activists and local leaders inside Myanmar, they themselves could not end this one. So we all need to be united, and we need to restore the democracy, and it's very good time to work together with solidarity so that we could end this military coup, and also and we can restore our democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shwe Mong. Yes, a time for people power instead of propaganda. You know, the government and military in Burma have been very clever about propaganda and about divisive politics, setting one ethnic group against another, demonizing minorities. And so this is a time for minorities and people in general to wake up and say that they're not going to be put against each other. This is also a time when we see that Aung San Suu Kyi betrayed the minorities, betrayed the Rohingya, but then she was betrayed by the military. But
Yes.
we should not betray democracy, and we should not betray the hope of a better
Absolutely.
future, a more unified and peaceful country. So we have 164 government ministers, civil society leaders, human rights people arrested, but there may be many more. We have the possibility of giving hope through online activism, but also getting involved as a volunteer, getting involved in speaking to your elected representative, because really your voice does matter, because one voice and another, it finally makes a noise. The Rohingya issue has been bipartisan issue in Congress, relatively, but we need to scale up. And Mitch McConnell, who mostly blocked action in the Senate during the last administration, is no longer exactly in the same position. And also, I think he's more shocked by the current crisis than he was, unfortunately, earlier, when he should have also been shocked. But so this is a time, as everyone is saying, for action, an opportunity for action. Again, as Simon from the International Coalition for the Rohingya, and also with Amnesty's No Business with Genocide campaign, that you can push certain businesses to stop doing business with the Myanmar military. Kirin just this week withdrew because of such efforts by Simon and others. Whether we can get Harry Winston or other to give up their genocide gems, it just takes pressure. There's a lot of real work we can do as consumers and as citizens. So I wanted to invite first Jan back to make some comments, and then perhaps wind up with some remarks by Imam Malik. Jan?
Yeah, hi, thanks for inviting me back. I think something, I was just reflecting on things that I had forgot to mention at the beginning of this call while I was listening to you guys talk. And something I forgot to mention was that, even before this military coup, attacks were happening in Karen state. Villages were razed and burned to the ground. I was very upset that this was happening, yet it was not even getting any international attention, no attention at all in the media. And it was pretty much, it reminded me of the images that I saw when, Rohingya villages were also being burned to the ground. It was basically the same deal, but it just wasn't even getting as much attention. So I wanted to shed light on that. And just keep that, Karen state in your prayers and thoughts as well, because I don't know how the situation is going on there either, especially with this internet shutdown. I can only imagine what kind of things can be happening right now there, especially with the internet shutdown. I don't want to imagine that there are worse things happening, but that's the reality. There could be, especially with this internet shutdown. People's speech and freedoms are being limited right now. It's just the military's way of shutting people down and really just discouraging them from even speaking out against these atrocities and also this military coup in general. Another thing I just want to say is, like on the bright side, so that's on the bad side, but on the dark side, but like on the bright side, what's really good and optimistic and gives me hope is just seeing people really just, stay high in their spirits, and just going out even in the streets to protest. That happened. So I was talking about how pots and pans movement, like the banging of pots and pans was happening. People went out on their balconies and they all did that collectively. And you could just hear like the clinking of all these spoons against metal, it's really cute to see. Like, you guys should search it up online. It's everywhere on social media when you search up hashtag what's happening in Myanmar, I believe. That's a trending hashtag. And it's really nice to see that, togetherness on social media, and just seeing how like they're really doing the best that they can. And that was a way of them protesting, in a civil disobedience movement. It was like a way to, be safe also by staying at home. But I guess, people just had enough, and now they've taken to the streets for the first time ever. That just happened last night. And to be honest with you, I was scared because the first thing that came up to my mind was images of the 1988 protest, where a lot of people were shot down to the ground. It was mostly students who went to the streets. And it's really like a touching subject for me to talk about, because my grandma went through that. I mean, she had students who were shot down. And that's the reason why I'm here in America, to be honest, because my grandma was a teacher back in Burma. And while the 88 protests happened, she was a kindergarten teacher. So right after the next day after the protest happened, they had pamphlets of all the names of all the people who were shot down and killed. And on that list, she recognized names of the kids that she had taught in kindergarten. And you can only imagine how much pain she would have felt, all the time that she invested in the kids that she taught. So I was really scared. I was concerned about what was happening when I saw that people took to the streets. But I had other friends to tell me that, this is this is the youth, this is the new generation in Burma right now, and they don't want to be silenced. They like the coup is just messing with the wrong generation. They are rising and they are not going to stop. They're very bold, brave, and like fearless, I would say, because it's like it looks like history is repeating itself, but they're going against that, and they're just really doing whatever they feel is the best, or like the right way to take action. So whatever they're doing over there, I completely support them. And I think that's the best way that all of us here can also support them online, on social media, especially while they're going through an internet shutdown, by using the hashtags I mentioned and just amplifying this everywhere. And hopefully, I'm hoping that this movement can actually go viral, to be honest. So yeah, that's my take on that movement. And I also want to mention that, on the topic of keeping our spirits high, a lot of people have been taking to social media and even like written songs. Like they made up songs and like they were sharing it, and that really gave me a lot of hope. And it just showed me the beauty that Myanmar is. The beauty of the people, the resistance that they have, the determination that they have. It's everything, and it brings me to tears just talking about it, but that's how like it's so meaningful, not just to me, but it should be meaningful to everyone here too watching. I really thank everyone who's here listening as well, because that just shows me how much support Myanmar is getting right now. And I also just want to close by sharing a poem that I wrote in response to what was happening in Karen State before the military coup even happened. So yeah, let me just pull that up right now. I wrote it like in the middle of the night one day. And yeah, I wrote two poems, but I think I'm gonna share with you guys this one of the poems that I wrote, and the title is "My Life is Someone's Dream." Okay. It's times like these, in the middle of the night, when I ponder on my blessings, they have served me very right. I be spewing all I want, making excuses here and there, and complaining to no care until I realize I'm wrong. I'm wrong for getting caught up. I'm wrong for getting fed up. Because when I see destruction in Burma, that's when I realize what's up. My life is someone's dream. People dream to live like me. People living in despair, those whose futures seem so rare. I see injustice everywhere, and it's a shame I'm unaware, especially when I get so into the day-to-day affairs. School semester had just started. I was focused on assignments, but the news broke out that a ceasefire broke for the world's most longest war. Villages burned down to the floor, images that made you feel so poor. Saw Karen's friends' Facebook stories. I was bothered, couldn't take more. Then I checked through Insta stories, tapping through some people's days, watching people having fun. But wait, it all seems such a daze. This is fantasy we live in. What we see in life's not real. Everything that's all around us is made to cater to our feels, made to make us feel all good, capitalism as it should. But wait, this illusion's got us fooled. Nothing wrong with happy lives, but there's just a disconnect between the lives of diaspora members and the lives that we would hate. We would hate to live in poverty. We would hate to have to flee. We would hate to have our homes burned. We would hate to have no glee. It's an irony we live in, yet this irony is so true. It makes us look so superficial because we're not reading the room. Be aware, show you care, but life is busy, but there's time to spare. I don't mean to disturb your peace, but please, there are cries more disturbing than these. Lines of poetry I've written to get some things off of my chest, to process feelings of burden, yes, but that doesn't mean we should digress. Social media is a tool, we should learn to use it better, not just to show our looks, but to amplify the tethered. Spread some room right on your feed, on your stories, on your channels, make way to call out injustice, and don't just do it for example. Keep the streak alive because consistency is key, and be mindful of your message. We need to do it kind of low key. Be careful not to burden, but be daring to uplift. Overwhelm with love and gentleness for those floating adrift. Slip it in through conversations and share your thoughts instead. Go ahead, replace the selfie. Put attention on the dead whose dreams are crushed, the dead whose family weeps, the dead that are in spirit, especially in this time of need, the dead whose lives were treated as if they could be disposed, the dead that are in spirit, in living bodies, not decomposed. I hope this is a wake-up call, but please don't end it here. This call is all to you, people who live a dream, adieu. My life is someone's dream. Someone dreams to live like me, someone feeling from the bullets, a refugee or an IDP.
Mm-hmm. Wow, very moving, mashallah. So one thing I thought maybe to call Sister Henna back just for a second, because Sister Henna, you were at a rally today in front of the Burmese embassy. And I wondered if you could say how your presence was greeted. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Brother Adam. Yes, myself, my family, and were there in solidarity with the Karen community in front of the Burmese embassy in Washington, D.C. And I can just say that our presence was greeted with love and welcoming. They were very happy to hear from a representative from Burma Task Force and the American Muslim community. We shared the solidarity from our Rohingya brothers and sisters, re-emphasized that this is the same military that is burning, that targets mosques, targets churches, targets Muslims in the south and Christians in the north. Um, and so this was something that really, I had several people come up afterwards who were very happy to hear. And obviously, from the hijab, a lot of people can obviously tell that we're Muslim. And to have this sort of solidarity amongst ethnic communities is so important. When we started doing this work a couple of years ago, or bringing different ethnic minorities together. And I shared this story several times. And I first heard how we hosted a dinner and we several Kachin, Karen, Rohingya people together around and conversing together in a common language and eating and sharing their experiences, and the fact that all of them had been targeted by the same oppressors was a very, very powerful moment. And I'm just so glad that now we can bring this solidarity out in the open and in front of the oppressors' embassies. So this is something that just wanted to share that. And we don't have our Korean community member here today because they had, all of them were so exhausted by, they've been protesting all day. So we extend our solidarity to them and hope that and the same vice versa, that they are expressing solidarity with the Rohingya people as well and other Burmese Muslims. So just wanted to share that.
So as we wind up, I hope that we'll all commit to action, to volunteering, to showing support and solidarity. There's a lot to be done. It's pretty challenging, and yet it's really meaningful. And I think that Rohingya are not just a problem, to be solved. When you're at the UN or in government, sometimes, oh, what do we do about this? Rohingya and Karen and Kachin, all the people of Burma, they are family. They are friends. They are people. And we need to stand together. So winding up our conference today, I'd like to give the floor back to Imam Malik, our chairman.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Adam, for moderating and your leadership. And thank you, Sister Hina. And Jen, as you know, you have moved a whole lot of people. May God bless you for your courage, for your wisdom, and for your strength. When you were talking about people, I was thinking of my last trip, which took place exactly 1 year ago to Rohingya camps in Bangladesh. I went there straight from the ICJ. I heard the case in ICJ and I decided to go over there. And some people find out in the Rohingya community that I'm there, and they came to meet on sidewalk in a place. There I met a sister who I have met before also, who was a young mother when Burmese soldier snatched her baby from her hands. On the roadside on the concrete floor, with the legs of the baby in hand and smashing the skull of that baby. And I told her, about what was happening in ICJ. And I saw her crying. Bad for me, I ended up recording what she was saying. Nothing can bring that baby back. But friends who are gathered here, think of the babies right now who have grown up and walking on the streets there. Yes, they were confused by the propaganda of the military, which is dividing people, Rohingya and Kachin and Burmans and Kerans. All of them are human beings. All of them are human beings. We need to stand for all of them. And that's how love will increase, inshallah. So as Janjan said, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. I know if we're going to bang our utensils here, our family may not like that idea. But the utensils of the Twitter are there. So 8:30 a.m. Eastern is a little early for some of the people in the central zone and the west zone, but please do that at 8:30 a.m. along with Save Myanmar hashtag. Additional hashtag should be Save Rohingya and Save Kachin and Save Karen. So we show the solidarity, and the people who have been confused by the military propaganda will realize we are human beings together. While you're doing that, please put down burmataskforce.org there so people can see more action. Right now, as soon as the coup took place, within a day, Sister Hina set up the thing there. And now, right now, you can go on the Burma Task Force and you can do several things while there. Number one, you can make a phone call. It is good to be the daytime. So there is a chance to pick up, and it customizes. So it's click call and click tweet. So you go there, you will have talking points and everything, and you click there, it automatically will go there. And keep doing that every day. It will take just 5-6 days. So first action, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, as Janjan is saying, everybody go hashtag save Myanmar, save Burma, save Rohingya, save Kachin, save Karen. Second thing is President Biden, since he's too busy, he's not picking up our phones, unfortunately. So phone calls to White House are not working. So what you need to do is tweet President Biden. Say you stood for democracy. You stood for human rights. Or say you stand for human rights, you stand for democracy. It is about time that you put full sanction on Burmese military minus food and medicine, which committed genocide and crimes against humanity and now dismiss democracy. So word genocide and restoration of democracy should come together. We shouldn't say one thing, restore democracy. We shouldn't get into that business. We should simply combine two things: the same military, same military, same general. What do? They dismiss democracy, they committed genocide. Those things come together. And the iron is hard. If this opportunity is lost, and coming week is going to be the most critical week. They're writing right now, and Brother Adam has already written a modified and written a resolution, which we have been talking this evening to be presented to different congresspersons, senators who are talking to our lobbying firm. But when we talk lobbying firm and all that, money is needed. So I think all of you participated, please donate. But more than that, I need your time, brothers and sisters. That sister who told me about her baby will never be back. Never, ever will be back. Those people who caused that, they need to be punished. As a believer, I believe they will punish in this world unless they seek forgiveness from God Almighty. God will punish them in the hereafter as well. But volunteers now, if you can give just 5 hours a week, or if you cannot do 5 hours a week, just give me 1 hour a week, brothers and sisters. Sign up right now. Go on Justice for All or Burma Task Force.org. Sign up to volunteer, please. We need people right now to targeted action. Every day you will receive how to use your 10 minute on that day, what you can do with those 10 minutes just for that. That's it. If you can do 1 hour or more time, please write it down. So, for the future of humanity, it is important that our country become stronger and stronger. Our country cannot become stronger unless it stands on principles, principles of humanity, principles of human rights, principles of democracy. These are the things that are needed. More our country will stand up for these principles, more world will become a better place. Trust me on this. I have been to 60 plus countries, Muslim countries and Christian countries, this and that, European countries. People look up to America. America has been down for a while. If we put pressure on our congressperson and our senators, we can push it forward. And I know some of the Canadians are also on this call. Your country was the first one, the only country in the whole world, Canada, which has called this thing a genocide. America has not done that yet, although America did pass the resolution. So keep pushing. Coming week is very important, and following week. So no matter what cause you're on, this is the time. And please do volunteer. Sister Hina, you might have put volunteer tool there. Please put it again. We need your time. 10 minutes, 1 hour a week, 5 hours a week, you can give whatever. That's very much needed at this moment because people are busy, pandemic and vaccine and this and that, and people have difficulty connecting. So some of you who have spared this time, it means you care. You care for humanity, for people who are 7,000 miles away from here. So you are caring people. You could do it. If you put a pressure, our Congress will move, our president will move, and then only European Union is going to move. So your support, your phone calls are important. And I met another girl there. She's like my granddaughter, exactly my granddaughter's age. All her parents were murdered in front of her eyes. And all night she was violated. And somehow those rapists got tired. And early morning she woke up from her, painful dead body almost, and ran away and hid in a patch. And in that condition, that 13-year-old girl walked all the way to Bangladesh. Each time I meet, each time I utter the word Rohingya, I think of that girl. So I request to you, in the name of humanity, I need your time. And this is the time. Iron is hot. If we're able to do it, this is the time to do it. All those sanctions which cause them to fake democracy, all those sanctions need to be back to be able to force this mafia to its feet. And chances of our success are high because Burma, although democracy here is somewhat democracy, but Burma has moved forward. More people have mobile, more people have ATM, more people have Twitter, more people are connected with the world. They cannot hide the way they have been hiding with massacres and genocide in the past. And now that people know what democracy, what military has done to them, they will understand what the same military has done to Kachin people and Rakhine people and Rohingya people as well as Karen people. When people are pain, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, when somebody is sick, go and offer your sympathies to them because that's where they are receiving. God Almighty says that I was thirsty. You didn't come to me. You didn't feed me. You didn't give me water. I was hungry. You didn't give me anything to eat. Say, oh God Almighty, you are the God. He said, well, if you have come to the thirsty, you would have found me there. If you have come to the Hungary, you would have found me here. So this is the time to stand up for all people of Burma. May God Almighty open their heart for the humanity, and may God Almighty open our heart for humanity, that we not only attend the programs, but able to volunteer our time, and every day, trust me, we'll provide you information what you can do that particular day. So thank you so much. May God bless you all.
Thank you, everybody. Our future depends on what we do today. Martin Luther King famously said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And obviously what's been going on in Burma is a horrible injustice. And we're in the midst of a pandemic. This is a crisis, requires response, but there's also an epidemic of authoritarianism, of cruelty, of power games and division. And again, our future will be ruined if we let that win. So we're all tasked to respond. We're human beings. This is our work. So thank you very much for joining us today. Good night.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, John, and all the speakers.